Hi everyone, Sheree here. Today I'm going to be doing a traveller's notebook spread using some awesome new stamps from Kerri Bradford Studio. I am using a set that I think was released last month called the Newport Alphas, and I'm using these ones for my title. But the new ones we've got here are called Fine Line, and as you can see, these are perfect for journaling lines. You can also make patterns for your background with these. This is going to be really cool, and it fits on a nice large stamp block. I've got it already on my acrylic block there. So I've got that one to use. I've got the State of Mind stamp set, and while I'm not using any of these phrases today, I am using this little love circle. But you can see there are so many cool phrases on here, and I can't wait to do a spread using this stamp set. I must apologise, my neighbour is tapping away outside. I couldn't wait any longer to do this video, so I do apologise for that noise in the background. The last two sets I've got here are Homegrown and Plant Life, and just look at the gorgeous flowers in these sets. This is what has inspired my spread today. I've got a photo of my mum and I on Mother's Day this year, so I thought these flower stamps are just perfect for this spread. So I'm going to be playing around with the flower stamps and different coloured inks to do my spread today. But first up, I just wanted to show you how I'm planning to do the background of this spread. This fine line stamp, I want it to go right across the entire spread. So I've got one of the pages cut out to size to fit into my traveller's notebook, and the other page I've already got my journaling printed out. Now I went into Photoshop to do my printing, and I wanted to be able to print my journaling and then stamp the lines over the top so that all my journaling looks like it's sitting on these journaling lines. So to do that, I've played around with the line spacing in Photoshop, and I worked out that if I change the line spacing to 21 point, it says 21 pt on the screen, then they fit pretty well. They fit pretty well in these lines, and I've just made a note of that and put on the back of my stamp set so that I remember that next time I want to do it this way. So what I'm going to do is stamp the lines onto this pre-cut page first. That will give me an idea where I want my lines to go across the spread. So I'm trying to have that nice and straight. I've got Stampin' Up! Granny Apple Green for this, because I'll be using this same green on some of the leaves when I stamp those. So what I'm going to do is just ink up my large stamp. Make sure I get lots of ink on there. That looks pretty good. Alright, so I'm just going to position this where I want these lines. So I sort of want them in the bottom half of the page and stamp it down. Okay. Alright, so there you can see I've got some lovely green lines going right across that page. Now for this journaling side, here we go, I've got my journaling there. I'm going to ink up my stamp again. Lots of nice green ink. I really love this colour. It's sort of a darkish sort of green. Alright, and now I'm going to position the stamp so that it's showing my journaling on the lines. Alright, so just playing around there. Try and get it nice and straight. Okay, so there we go. Now my journaling are on those lines. Now to make sure that my pages are going to line up exactly when I put them into my notebook, what I'm going to do is position this page over the top like that, and I will actually take it over to the window and just make sure my journaling is centered on that page at the back. And all I'm going to do is then grab a pencil, and I'm just going to make my own little crop marks on here so I know where to trim this. And that way, when I have my pages next to each other in my traveller's notebook, they will line up exactly. So you can see there I've got those little crop marks now, so I can take that over to, I can see that there, there we go. So I've just made little marks on the edges there and on the corners so that I know where to cut. So I will go and take this over to the window now. Just make sure I've got it centered properly, and cut these out, and then I'll come back to do some stamping. So I'll be back in a moment. Okay, so they're now cut out, and as you can see, they're really nicely lined up, and now I can move on to my stamping. So I'm starting off with this leaf stamp, and I've got the Stampin' Up! Apple Green ink for this one. Just doing that a couple of times. And I'll reach for the next leaf stamp. This one is the Memento Pear Tart colour. I really like this light green. I'm just stamping these onto some plain white cardstock, and then I'll be cutting all these out at the end to use on the spread. So another leaf now, just using that same light green, the Pear Tart. Just cleaning my stamps as I go, or trying to anyway. Next up, I've got this colour wheel, the Vicky Bouton stamps. I really love this colour wheel. They're so pretty, these colours together. I'm using the yellow on this little flower stamp. This is one of the flowers out of the Plant Life stamp set. So I'm just doing a couple in the yellow. Then there is a second flower of a similar shape, so I'm doing that in the orange as well. So that's those ones done. So a few more flowers to go. I'll just grab some more scrap. And I'm using this red flower. This is also from the Plant Life stamp set. So lots and lots of ink. And onto that scrap piece of cardstock, and that's turned out really well. Loving that one. Cleaning that stamp block off again. So swapping over to this other flower now. This is another Plant Life flower. And I'm using the silhouette first. So I'm using the lighter colour for this one. And that one is the Stampin' Up! So Saffron colour. Just doing that a second time because I wasn't quite happy with the coverage of the first one. Now I've got the Stampin' Up! Mango Melody to go over the top. So I've got the matching stamp here that will stamp the outline over the top of this flower. There you go, looking really good. I'm really loving this one. I'm going to do the same flower in pinks as well. So for the silhouette background, I've got the Pink Peony from Archival Ink. So that's looking good. And for the outline, I've got Archival Ink Vibrant Fuchsia. I'm really happy with that one as well. Okay, so again, cleaning that stamp off as best I can. Now I'm using the yellow flower. Well, I'm going to do a yellow flower, and that's from the Homegrown stamp set. So again, it's a silhouette background. It's a nice solid stamp. I wasn't happy with that first one that I did, so I'm just re-inking. I'm going to go again. Now this one's a little bit trickier to line up because of the way the petals are, but you just work it out. Over the top of that, I'm using that orange colour. Just a nice subtle difference in the colour. So it doesn't matter if you don't get it exact, it still looks fantastic, as you can see there. I'm really loving these stamps. Alright, so that's all my coloured flowers and leaves done, and now I'm going to do my black stamping. So I've got the Love stamp from the State of Mind stamp set. Just going to do that a couple of times. The coverage on the first stamp wasn't that great, so I'm just going to go again. Just right next to that one, and that was much better, so I'm happy with that. And now I've got the letters to spell the word today. Now I could have lined these up onto a stamp block and stamped it all at once, but because I'm going to cut all these out, I'm just doing them randomly. So just whacking them onto my stamp block and stamping them down. Those two didn't turn out too well, and off camera I did decide to re-stamp those, which you'll see when I'm putting this spread together. So I'm going to use a circle punch to just punch that love word out. It was a little bit smaller than the actual stamp, which is totally fine. So everything's cut out, ready to go. So I'm going to start putting this spread together. So I've got my photo going on there first on that left-hand side. And then I can start playing around with all these flowers. So I just want a really pretty little flower cluster here. So just deciding on the placement. I've just got double-sided tape on the back of these. If I was working on a layout, I'd be using all sorts of dimensional adhesive, foam dots, etc. to add dimension, but because I don't want to add too much bulk, I'm just using double-sided tape behind everything. So just layering everything together now. I've got a leaf going up there, putting one on the other side, and then I decided to move these leaves around and change the positioning. So I've decided to put that one up the top. I'm going to lower that one down next to that pink flower I've got some more leaves, just tucking them underneath where the flowers are. I've also got those smaller flowers that I'm just tucking in behind there as well. So I've got one just under that red flower, and I'll pop one up the top here as well. And another leaf, that lighter green going in there too. Okay, another one over on that left hand side, and I think we are done with the flower cluster. So now I've got that love circle. I've decided to put that just down the bottom left of the photo, and now I'm going to play around with my title. So I want them to go across here. I decided to raise the Y up on the line because if I had it how it should be, it would be covering up some of my journaling. So I've just raised it up. I'm totally fine with that, and I'm tucking another leaf in behind that Y and a little yellow flower as well, just to bring a little bit of colour onto the right hand side of the spread. So I'll go ahead and stick those down, and I'll also add some stitching and come back in a moment. Alright, so stitching is done. I'll give you a closer look in a moment. I'm just going to stamp the date down the bottom right hand corner first. That is done, and I'll give you a closer look at this. I've got stitching in the top left of the photo there, nice layered flowers under the photo, and I've stitched across the middle of the title as well. So I hope you've enjoyed seeing how I've used these new Kerri Bradford Studio stamps. I'll leave a link down below so you can visit the store yourself if you're interested in any of these. Let me know if you've got any questions. I'll answer you as soon as I can, and I'll be back again very soon with another project. Thanks for joining me today. Bye for now.